Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am JP John Poz, your host today. And of course, we are joined by a former ECW World Television Champion, a former ECW World Tag Team Champion, and just an overall ECW legend. He's wrestled all around the globe. He is Pitbull number one, Gary Wolf. Gary, welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling.
That's right, baby. Pitbull's in the house. Love it.
So what have you been up to lately? I see you, slowly but surely kind of making your way back into the wrestling scene, but what's been going on with you lately?
Well, due to the pandemic, I was very busy. And then next thing you know, the pandemic hit and bang. All our dates pretty much froze up. We were going Andrew Anderson, Kevin Sullivan, a bunch of guys. We were all going to Cuba to do a tour, which we're it's still set. It's just that we had to postpone the first part of it because it was, due to the COVID. And we're supposed to be going down to, we're supposed to hit England for championship wrestling over there. We got another tour set up to go there. So right now we're just trying to get back to work. Us guys it's tough right now because, the pandemic, it's getting better, which is a good thing. So, but it helped. Flights I got so cheap right now, so it's actually pretty good for us guys that are in Florida. There's a lot of wrestlers in Florida, that have to travel. Yeah.
Yep. So what was going on in Cuba? That's not a place you hear like a wrestling hotbed. So what was going on down there in Cuba?
Andrew Anderson set up a huge, they haven't had wrestling there in 60 years.
Wow. I knew it was a while. I didn't know it was that long. Wow.
It's been 60 years. So they wanted to do a thing. We had Andrew Anderson, like I said, and Kevin Sullivan. They got their backers, and it's a shame, we lost Animal in this past few days, and he was part of it with us. So,
yeah, it sucks. Animal, great guy. What's kind of been your experience with Road War Animal? You've probably known him for a long time, but what's kind of your feeling on the whole thing on his passing? Because that was very sudden and very shocking.
Yeah, I was very surprised because I felt that he was in great shape to me.
Yeah.
He was in great shape, and I wrestled Mike many times, Hawk, and Joe. I just couldn't believe it. I was very shocked, very surprised.
Have you wrestled the Road Warriors as a team?
No, we never wrestled them as a team. We were actually, it's a really sad story, but it's the honest to God truth. When my partner passed away, which is a few weeks ago, his anniversary was, I had gotten a call before that by Joe and Mike, and they were like, look, you guys want to get back? Because we had stopped wrestling for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And because ECW closed down and we were going to WCW, but Vince bought them. So that ruined our deal there. So, he called us up and said, look, we're going back to Connecticut and we're doing a big show and we're getting back on the map again. And we figured we'd wrestle you guys. So it was great. We were like down with it, awesome. It's been a while. But in 2 weeks, Anthony died. And then within the same 2 weeks, Mike died. So it was like, it hit us hard.
Yeah, it's terrible, and obviously wasn't meant to be Pitbulls against the Road Warriors. What was the experience like just with Anthony Durante, number 2, and his passing? That's got to be like a brother passing, right? You guys were really close.
Oh yeah, we grew up in the same town, went to the same school, same grade. We didn't hang out much as kids, but then as we got older, we ended up bumping into each other at the gym, and then we just became friends from there. And we didn't know we were going to be wrestlers until I'll tell you a story. We snuck in Wildwood, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, when they used to do Raw tapings there. So they asked us, they said, do you guys want to do security? Because we were at the gym, at Till's gym working out. And we're like, shit, yeah, we love wrestling. You know what I mean? The British Bulldogs were there. It was a fucking nice show. And so we decided to sneak in the building on Monday morning, like that afternoon, because the show was that night. So we snuck in. It was me, Anthony. You may know him as Crybaby Waldo. He was another independent wrestler who passed away recently. And Andy Bernowski, who happens to play in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
He's
he's Leatherface. So
Yep.
he's big boy, man. So we were in there bumping around the ring, and we've never been in a ring before, honestly. So we actually killed each other. We didn't know what we were doing. And no bullshit, man. Dick Worley was in the stands watching us just for the kicks. You know what I mean? He's like, And he looked at Andy Bernowski and he told him, he's like, dude, you're the next Hulk Hogan. I mean, he was. Got to remember, Andy was about 6'7", probably over 300 pounds at that point, muscle all ripped, but still very, very young.
Yep.
And he was just like, hell no, man, I ain't doing this shit. It's too rough. And we even said it. I mean, I remember I couldn't work out for 2 weeks, just bumping in the ring on my own. I didn't know what I was doing. And, we were just like, we'd practice out in the water and the beach and shit, just suplexes. But we never thought we'd be wrestlers. And then next thing you know, after that summer, Anthony decided to go to the Monster Factory. So I just said, screw it. I waited about 30 days. I had to get the cash together. And then I signed up. And that was in 1988 when we signed up at the Monster Factory.
Wow. So what was the experience like with Larry Sharpe and the Monster Factory? Because, I mean, that's a legendary wrestling training place.
It was the best. I mean, look, I could go on forever and tell you all the talent that came out of that school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's amazing. You got to also, I mean, when we were there at that time, we were there a lot. Like Papa Shango was just left. He was there a little bit with us, and then he went right to Japan. Bammer already was gone. Raven was already gone. We weren't there long, man. I mean, within what's that? Yeah, Larry was a great teacher too. I mean, don't get me wrong. Larry was awesome. And plus, he had Charlie Fulton with him. So, I mean, Charlie Fulton would help Larry, teach everybody. And Larry would always open up. Like, he would let the guys come in and try out a lot, but if they're not, if they couldn't handle it, you know what I mean? And honestly, at that time, we were pretty much running the school, me and my partner. You know what I mean? We were like the top guys there at that time. Before the headbangers. I mean, this is, so we had it made because Larry was like really into us and he wanted to manage us. So he got us on tours right away. I mean, we got to go to New Zealand. The first time, our first tour was in New Zealand against the British Bulldogs. So
wow.
They were calling us the American Pitbulls versus the British Bulldogs in New Zealand because that's common, it's commonwealth over there, English. So, it went down. I mean, we were in front of 55,000 people and it blew our minds. You know what I mean? It blew our minds because we worked for Vince first a little bit before we went on that tour. And we were in front of about 22,000 then, but doing that tour was crazy when he filled up Olympic Stadium, against the British Bulldogs. I mean, we learned so much in that 2 weeks, bro. Just working with those guys. Dynamite and Davey Boy were great, great guys.
So as far as them in the ring, were they stiff at all? Because you always hear stories. Some guys they would stiff, like Mick Foley, Dynamite Kid. They gave him that awesome clothesline. Well, not awesome, but pretty crazy clothesline and busted up his jaw. So what was he like in the ring, and what was Davey like in the ring?
First night was a complete shoot. 45-minute beat the living shit out of each other shoot.
Wow.
Honest to God, Larry Sharpe went across to get the finish, came back, shaking his head. And I'm like, why are you shaking your head, man? He's like, there ain't no finish. Go out there and do 45 minutes. I said, okay. I'm like, all right. You know what I mean? I'm young. I was a young kid. I'm like, these old men want to fuck with me? I'm thinking, okay. Come to find out they weren't old and they were in good shape. It was a great match, dude. Like we stiffed the living hell out of each other, but we still respected the business enough to tell a story and have a great finish. And I remember waking up the next day and, we were sore as shit. I mean, like, wow, I thought this was going to be an easy 2 weeks, Yep. I went across the hall and I'm thinking it's Larry Sharpe's room. By accident, it's the British Bulldogs room. They were already up drinking, having a good time, and they're like, "Come here, man, we had a great match." And they're like, "Now we're boys." It was perfect. You know, it was like you have to earn your respect in this business one way or another.
Mm.
And I mean, they knew who we were. I mean, they got around, but they just didn't. They never faced us. Plus, you know, our gimmicks were kind of similar. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you can get that impression, like, "What are you trying to steal my gimmick?" But it's not. You're the British Bulldogs. We're the American Pitbulls. You know what I mean? So it worked out really good, and I learned a lot in that 2 weeks.
Was that like an initiation almost? Like they wanted to break you in? Like they had to put some respect? Like like why the no finish? Why were they so stiff with you guys?
I think they wanted to see if we're the legit, and we were
Mm.
legit. I mean, the next time we went back to New Zealand, we wrestled Hondo and Mondo, fucking the Guerrero brothers. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that. You know what I mean? The Pitbulls have wrestled legend tag teams, bro, legend tag teams, but people don't even realize.
That's great though. New Zealand, you have to, not known as a huge hotbed, but obviously a good market for pro wrestling. It's great that they kept bringing you back. You guys must have been drawing over there.
See, we got very tight with Don Morocco, King Curtis, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, the Wild Samoans. Like, we would always wrestle the Wild Samoans when me and Anthony, when we were young, coming up. So what happened was the Wild Samoans would put the word in for us and say, "Yo, this tag team's good." And then next thing you know, King Curtis came around asking about us. You know what I'm saying? And then before you know it, it was over from there. You know what I mean? And then once we got in Japan, like, it only took the Pitbulls 2 years to make it to Japan. And that was working for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Wow, nice. Pretty good. But before that, with the WWF and doing that, is that Larry Sharp getting you guys in and getting you those matches? Like, is that how that works? He basically, they call it the Monster Factory. Like, hey, we need some guys. We need a tag team. Like, how does that all work with the WWE and your WWF at that point and getting in there?
Well, Larry Sharp had a good relationship with Vince McMahon, so he would call him up and say, "Look, I got some students that are good prospects. You might want to check them out, but I want to send them your way to get some experience. So, let's put them on TV." And this is back when they were doing the job matches on TV, if you remember correctly. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we would drive our 8 hours, show up for television. They'd pay us $150 a night if we worked or we didn't work. And they would put us up in a hotel. So we just had to get there and, work. And that's what we did. And it was a great experience for us. I mean, you got to remember, this is the late 80s, 88, between 88 and 89 in that area, probably early 88s. And we meet everybody that was in that locker room then. I mean, we got to wrestle the Hart Foundation. We got to wrestle the Big Boss Man and Akeem. We got to wrestle the Rougeau brothers. Every tag team you can think about, we wrestled, besides single guys. So we got a chance to wrestle Ted DiBiase. My partner, Anthony, got a chance to wrestle Rick Rude. And who knew 10 years later he'd be in ECW announcing me back into the ring after I broke my neck. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, cool.
And who would think Steve Austin would be at my house every weekend partying and hanging out with the boys when he was in ECW? You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So, I mean, I could have went to work for Vince McMahon very early in my career, but I chose because Japan came to North Carolina to look at us. We were working 6 nights a week there, with the Nasty Boys for Jim, for Paul Jones and George Scott. So that was our first job, you know what I mean, working down south. We had Chris Chavis with us, who was Katanka. We had Ken Shamrock with us, who was Vince Torelli at that time. We ended up becoming the champs down there, becoming the heels, turning Nasty Boys faces, which was great. And we were in the stud stable, which was awesome because we got to work with Robert Fuller and Matt Bourne. And then Bob Orton would come in every once in a while. We had Ricky Steamboat there. Big John Studd would pop in. So we got to work the Malenkos a couple times. The Fantastics would pop down, when we got to work them. So it was good experience for us.
Yeah, I think it was NAWA and then SAPW. I mean, it was both, it got big time down there in the Carolinas. A lot of great wrestlers came out of there.
Yeah, a lot of guys, dude, a lot of guys. I mean, even after us. But like I said, Japan came knocking on our door while we were down there, and they sent their guy Tokyo Joe out to us, and he studied us and checked us out and said, okay, this is what I need you to improve on, and then I'll come back. So what he did was he would send some guys from Japan down to North Carolina to work some Americans. So they would bring in the Fantastics would stop by, Dean Malenko would stop by, a couple Japs would stop by, and then they'd go back and report. And the next thing you know, Tokyo Joe would come back and visit us again. He says, okay, you guys are looking good. I think we may be able to do something. So we were like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And by that time, we started losing our days. Instead of 6 days a week, we were down to like almost 4 days a week. Then it started to 3 days a week. And then it was like, okay, just TV. We can't live in North Carolina no more. You know what I mean? So it's like we got to get back to Philadelphia. So we went back to Philly. And we always had ECW because we started in Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, which was ECW before it became ECW. So we're the original ECW guys, me and my partner, just like Stevie Richards and a couple other guys like, JT Smith, Tommy Cairo, Hot Body. There's guys that been there from the beginning. That's Tri-State. So you got to remember that.
Joel Goodhart, right? He was running it then?
It was Tod Gordon and Joel Goodhart. Yes, correct.
So is that something that you guys gravitated or they recruited you in to Tri-State?
Oh, no, we were already in Tri-State before I even left to go to North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we would do shows for them when they would, because they're local. We were, like I said, we were from New Jersey, South Philadelphia area. So we could hit all that stuff, because they were working out of Philadelphia, which was perfect for us. It was a 30-minute drive at that time,
Right.
We were just very lucky because we had the Monster Factory right there. Yep. And then wouldn't you have it, the ECW was right there. And it was just like, we were very lucky. I mean, I look now at all these guys that used to try to get jobs with ECW or Combat Zone, and they would show up over there at ECW that lived in New York. And now all of them, most of them anyway, live in Philadelphia now, which is crazy. They should have made the move back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Kind of became a little bit of a hub for a lot of indie promotions and stuff. So at this point, were you also working? Did you do some like job matches for WCW too? Were you in and kind of all over the place? Were you in and out?
No, we kept, when we were down south, we would always go to NWA because we were trying to get in NWA. To be honest with you. Yeah. I wanted to work for NWA before Vince, just to build our name up a little bit more. And I kind of liked the Southern, how we worked down south. It was really nice. I liked it because you could do 6 days a week easy. You know what I mean? It's psychology.
Yep.
But they kept telling us we were too young, But Vince didn't care. Vince wanted to still bring us in anyway. But like I said, Japan gave us a better deal, and I had to take that deal instead. So we took that one.
So were you traveling over to Japan for New Japan with Anthony?
Yeah, we would do about 25 weeks a year. And then we ended up also then signing a deal with ECW. So we would do New Japan, and then we would do ECW as well.
That's like a perfect schedule, right? I mean, you're close to home with ECW, but then, you do your tours of Japan. What was it like doing that? Was it a little bit of culture shock as you first started making those Japan tours?
My first tour was, yeah. Yeah, my first tour was. That was pretty funny, man. It was crazy. I mean, it's a totally different culture there. I mean, you could walk into McDonald's there and eat on the floor. That's how clean it is. I'm serious.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. It's so weird. I mean, but they're still not caught up to society yet. Like you'll stop at a road stop and like the bathroom situation is pretty crazy. It's like kind of cavemanish.
Yeah. Hey, they've been wearing masks forever. We started doing it right. They've been doing it forever.
I was in Japan in 1990, my first time.
Yep.
And I'm like, why? Like I see some people wearing masks. So I remember I asked Tiger Hattori, who was our referee at the time, and he took care of most of the young Americans. I remember asking him, why are these people, why are they wearing masks? And he's like, oh, well, they got a cold. And they don't want to give that cold to somebody else, so they're being very polite, and that's why they're wearing the mask. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Around here, people are just like right in your face. They don't even cover their mouth half the fucking time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So interesting now with the mask and COVID and stuff. And I was like, man, I've been watching Japanese tapes, for 30 something years. I've seen these guys wearing masks forever. It's so like no different. It's very commonplace for the mask over there.
Yeah, all it says is, "Hey, I got a cold, and I don't want to give it to you, so I'm just respecting your space." That's how I looked at it.
Definitely. Now you
Yeah.
weren't the Pitbulls in Japan, right? You were the Mad Ball Busters or the Busters in Japan.
The Mad Bull Busters.
Mad Bull Busters. There you go.
Yeah, Mad Bull Busters. And
Where,
then
where does that name come
they named us. They wanted to name us that because I own the name the Pitbulls. That's trademarked. So they didn't want to. This way, they own all the material. So they said we're going to call you the Mad Bull Busters. I was like, I don't care. It's fine. What you're paying me, I could care less what you call me. You know what I mean? At that point. So
you ever notice their English never kind of matches up? Like Mad Bull Busters doesn't really make sense. Like, why would that be those three words together? You know what I mean? Like they never quite get their English correct.
Well, I guess it's easier for them to say. Well, I mean, when I worked for Wings and FMW, they called us the Pitbulls. That's how it sounds.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yep.
They still called us that, but when we worked for New Japan, they wanted to own everything. So they were like, I'm at the Bull Busters. That's how they want to say it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Is that just one of those things where you're just okay with the name? You kind of like, all right, whatever. Or do you not really care for the name too much?
They still called us Pitbulls anyway. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was cool. I didn't care. I just wanted to get the exposure. I mean, we were there early. You got to remember, we were there with Malenkos. We were there with Furness. We were there with Gary Albright. We were there with all these guys, you know what I mean, that are in the business. Stan Hansen, Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow, the Wild Samoans. Yokozuna was with us. I mean, we worked the Yokozuna. Like, we were on a 3-week tour. We'd worked the Samoans probably 4 or 5 times, because a 3-week tour is 18 shots. And that's pretty rough.
Yeah. What's like the travel situation like? I mean, they bussing you guys around. Like, how does that work? Because you always hear these like horror stories of, oh, I'm on the bus for 8 hours, or like, how does that work in Japan?
Well, like a 2-week tour, you'll get on a couple planes. You're going to get on a couple buses. That's a guarantee. And you're definitely going to get on a ferry, at least one ferry. And that's pretty crazy because there's no seats in the ferry. You got to sit on your ass and cross your legs. It's kind of weird, man. They got like one room with like 4 chairs, man. That's it.
Not treating you guys like stars, it seems like. They're a little rough on the guys.
They got to make a living like we do. You know what I'm saying? They got to try to get us there safely. But they got, the main thing is get us there. You know what I'm saying? So, yep. But what happens is if, like, I'll give you an example. We were in, it was a 10-hour bus ride, put it that way. And we were going back to Osaka. I think that's where they had the Disney World in Japan. I'm not sure. But we were going back there. And I remember Vader and Too Cold Scorpio were like, yo, Gary, listen, man, I can't deal with that 10-hour bus ride on our day off, man. I go, no, I don't count that as a day off. I'm on a bus all day. They're like, screw it. Let's put up $300 each and we'll jump on the bullet train and we'll be there in 3 hours. I said, let's do it. And we did that. And I'd rather do that than get on a bus for 10 hours, man.
Yeah, that's got to be rough. That stinks. Yeah, it's like, I guess that's the way they do things over there to save a little money and don't make the travel as easy on the guys as they could.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you have a bunch of towns that are bang, 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 you're going to take a bus. You know what I'm saying? And then once you're on that bus, you got to get across the water to another part of Japan. Then you jump on the ferry, and the bus goes on the ferry. You get off the bus, you go across. That's probably like 2 or 3 hours. And then you're back on the bus again. You're in the next town, go to the hotel, get a shower, and then you're at the building. You work that night, and then you're on the bus the next day. So it's work. You know what I mean? It's not. Japan's not easy. Nobody could. If they say it's easy, they're freaking crazy, and they're lying.
What did you think about that style? Did you like that strong style? They're snug, they're stiff. Did you like that?
Loved it. It went with our gimmick perfectly. It just made our gimmick better, actually, because we learned there. Like Tiger Jet Singh told me straight up. He said, I go out there with the sword and I chase people. I scare them and they run. Because I was hearing all this running and it sounded like a bunch of bulls running through, a field, and it's people, they get out of their seat and they run. Back then, you were allowed to chase the fans.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And if a fan hit you, you were allowed to hit them back.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It was so different. And I remember Tiger Jet Singh. I mean, he's the man, and he looked at me and I'm just like, damn, this guy's, he's been in the business. He was like 60 years old, still working. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And him and Bammer and Vader and them guys and Honda and Justin Lager. I worked Lager. I was doing 45 minutes with Lager matches. Easy, nice. Crazy. Hayabusa. I would do 30, 40 minutes with Hayabusa. Yeah, we worked all the top. Hasei Sasaki, we worked for the titles in Tokyo. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, quite a star-studded list of guys you've worked for sure. When you come back over to the States, obviously, you're going to make a big name for yourself because, people give you instant credibility from being over in Japan.
Yes, it helps big time. Because when you're there, I remember Chris Jericho, he's like around my age. Maybe, I don't know if he's younger. Is he younger than me? I think he's a couple years younger than me, but he was already in Japan when we were there. So we were like, wow, Too Cold Scorpio was in the dojo of New Japan.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's how he started because I was just like, yo, Scorp, what are you doing? Long time no see, And I'm like, he's like, I'm in the dojo, man. Don't get me in trouble. I'll be in trouble. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, I didn't know that, but we didn't have to do that. We were lucky. I mean, the dojo, that's no joke, but it's an honor to be invited there. If you get invited there, you got to go. If you don't go, you're crazy. But you better be ready when you go. You better be in shape before you even get there.
Yep.
You better be able to do 500 free squats with no problem, one shot. And if you don't, then to do a 45-minute match that style, you got to be in shape, bro.
I feel like over there they really want to see, like, almost test you, like, drill sergeant style. Like, they want to make sure that you want this, that you love the business, because they're going to be hard as hell on you when they're training you. Oh yeah, I mean, even the crowd's hard on you. I mean, the crowd's silent. They don't cheer unless you do something to make them cheer. Like they're not going to show you any respect unless you impress them, and that's exactly how they are. So when you come back to ECW, Eastern Championship Wrestling, at first, what's like the thought is that, like, you're going to be getting a big push? Is it going to be singles, or is it going to be you and Anthony together as a tag? Is Heyman there yet, or is it still Tod?
Well, no, Todd's still there.
Todd's still there.
Yeah, Eddie Gilbert.
Gilbert was there when you were booking, or when does Heyman kind of come in?
Eddie was there, but I wasn't. I was still in Japan. I got home. I had a knee. I had to come after Japan. I had to get a knee surgery. So I got my knee done. Anthony went to Germany to work for Otto. So he was in Germany working there. I was rehabbing my knee. I got better. Next thing I know, I see ECW on television late night. I'm like, what the hell's going on? When that happened?
Yeah.
So I called up Sandman, who's a good friend of mine, and I called up. And I said, give Tod a call, see if I can come down. I want to come down. I'm ready to go. I'm healed up. So he brought me in. He said, come in on a Saturday night. So I came in one Saturday, and they used me. I worked. And Paul dug it. He was cool. He's like, all right, I want to see you next Friday and Saturday. I was like, okay, cool. Thank you, So, he brought me back. And next thing you know, I'm working. And it was about, I would say, probably like 4 or 5 shows in, and that's just Friday and Saturdays, So a couple of months went by, and he's like, "Look, I want you to do me one more favor." And I was getting to work all the old guys, I loved working Jimmy Snuka and Kevin Sullivan and all them guys that are back in the day. Yep. He's like, "Well, look, I'm bringing Hawk. Hawk's working too, so I want you to do me one more favor, work Hawk, and I got something lined up for you." And I was just like, "All right, whatever." I didn't think anything of it. So I did the job. I did the match with Mike Hawk, and we had a great match. It was easy. And he was an awesome guy, man. And next thing you know, Paul came up to me and he's like, look, I'm waiting to come to New York this week to do some promos. I was like, all right. So I went and did it. Come to find out, he was putting me up against JT Smith, who happened to have the television title at the time. And he really never seen me do a promo. So he really had no clue if I could even cut a promo. So I cut this promo, and honest to God, JT, you know, he's in crutches because he has a bad ankle. He hurt it. And I open hand smacked his ass and dropped him right on the promo, straight up dropped him. To the point where Paul had to run out of the room so he could freak out and laugh because he didn't realize, like, he was just like, oh my God. Like,
yeah. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
Like, that was a fucking awesome promo because I even added something to it, which was stupid, but it ended up getting over. You know what I mean? And I was just like, holy shit, you know? And so he's outside. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, that was fucking great. And he's like, look, I want to put the TV title on you. And I'm like, nah, man. I said, I'm a tag team. You know what I mean? I said, my partner will be here soon and we're going to be tagging. He goes, well, in the meantime, let me put the title on you and let's just go for it and see we know what happens. You know, I didn't realize I was going to get 20 minutes of the show because I'm the television champ. So once I got it, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. You know, because I don't have to have the pressure of having the heavyweight title on me. I got to work the television title, which is okay, which is great. That's second best. And I got to be on TV a lot. So that's what I loved about it.
Nice. Now, the plan wasn't initially for you to be the TV champion. He almost sprung it on you. He didn't kind of give you any indication that, you know, he was going to give you a push?
No idea. I had no idea. He just kept coming up to me saying, holy shit, how much bigger are you going to get? Like, I was one of the biggest guys in ECW at that time. Next to like Jimmy Snuka and them guys, they were way bigger than me. But
yep.
I mean, I'm talking like, you know, the guys that were already there, like Public Enemy, you know, Tommy Dreamer, Taz, you know, them guys. I was way bigger than all them guys.
And you end up losing the TV title to Mikey Whipwreck, right? So the kind of the underdog story and the upset king, if you will, of Mikey Whipwreck.
That was the whole idea, right? Isn't it genius?
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to bullshit. I mean, when it comes to wrestling, Paul Heyman's a genius.
It's funny, too, because, you know, when Steve Austin comes in, he pins Steve Austin, he pins Sandman, he comes the world champion. I mean, it's pretty funny, like, the way he was booked as the ultimate underdog.
The gimmick was, you know, you're the champ. I don't want to be champ. You got to wrestle them for the title. You could have the title. I don't even want to wrestle. You know, and that's why he would come out to, I'm a loser, baby.
Yes. Yeah. So as you're kind of moving along, and obviously, you know, you got to drop the TV title because Anthony's on his way in, and you guys are going to be the Pitbulls.
Well, no, I dropped the TV title so I can give it to Mikey to give him his push.
Yep.
And then I start an angle with Taz.
Yes, that's right. Big feud with Taz. It actually goes quite a while. You guys had a long feud. Sorry to skip over that. What was kind of the chemistry like with Taz? Because at this point, he's not as serious as he ends up becoming, right? I mean, he's kind of doing a goofy gimmick, and then he's going to get more serious.
Yeah, he's doing the Tasmanian Devil gimmick at that point.
Tasmaniac, yep.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. So they pitched the angle, the Tasmaniac versus the Pitbull. And that's how they pushed that. And they were, like I said, I was getting pushed. And 1, 2, 3 in the ring, right in the middle. That's all it took. You know what I mean? One pin. So, you know, the Tasmanian Devil wasn't hard against the Pitbull.
What'd you think about Taz as a worker and a wrestler? I mean, that gimmick maybe didn't really fit him. His gimmick later on in ECW obviously worked perfectly. He became the champion, really came like the figurehead for a while after after beating the franchise. But what was your thoughts on working him? Do you think he was a good worker, good wrestler?
Yeah, he was very good at judo. He was a good shoot judo. He was a good worker. I mean, I have no problem. I had to yell at him once for throwing me on my head a couple of times, but that's about it. You know, there was no problems. But once they changed his gimmick from the Tasmanian Devil to Taz, and Paul said, be yourself. And that's how he is. Straight up. You know, that's just how he is. So it was okay. I had no problem. I mean, I did a nice loop with him. I mean, I had easy loops. I mean, I had one entire loop against Mikey Whipwreck. I had loops against Stevie Richards. I mean, that's when they were really building me and pushing me and building me up. You know what I mean? And then they started bringing him, they started giving me better guys, like I said, with Taz and just other guys that they were pushing, Axel and them guys,
What did you think about the Tasmaniac gimmick? You think that was like a little too sports entertainment, a little too goofy for ECW? Because ECW was kind of being built up, these tough guys. It's more legit. So many fans are like, "Oh, this is real." You think the Tasmaniac gimmick is kind of like, oh, that's a little, I don't know, a little WWE-ish or a little weird for ECW?
Yeah, but WWE wasn't interested in him until he changed his gimmick to Taz. So, you know what I mean? But you got to realize also he's getting a huge, huge push. Huge push.
Yep.
Him and Sabu was the top, that was a top gimmick at that one point.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they hadn't touched, and then building up to the pay-per-view where they're finally going to touch. Yeah.
Yeah, when in fact the angle between me and Shane Douglas actually overplayed that. So that was the predicament that Paul had. He didn't know what to do. He was like, "Oh my God, I got so many different great angles, so many storylines. What do I put in the first pay-per-view?" Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And the only one that would have taken away from the Taz and Sabu gimmick was me and Shane's gimmick because he broke my neck. So we had more heat than anybody when it came down to that. But he pulled me out of the show and put me in the audience and I had to wear a collar. I was already back in shape, ready to go, but they didn't want to do it. So I had to jump the guardrail. That's when they put Anthony versus Shane Douglas in the match.
Yes, yes. Definitely we'll get to that in a second. But kind of before that, leading up to that, when he actually comes back and you guys are going to, form the Pitbulls together, what's kind of your thought? Because you've been doing singles, you've been getting a nice push. Were you happy he's back? Or do you wanting to reform the team? Or are you almost like, man, I almost want to get this big singles run?
No, I was happy as hell. I was like, let's go. Let's get these tag belts. It's time to get Public Enemy and beat them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's go. Yep. And we knew them guys. You got to remember, I used to wrestle Ted Petty when he was the Cheetah Kid at the Monster Factory.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
I wrestled him thousands and thousands of times. So, I mean, working him was easy. Cake. Working the Bruise Brothers was cake. Eliminators, beautiful. I mean, so many tag teams went through there. The Heavenly Bodies went through there. Doc and Morty went through there. You name the tag teams, we've been against them. I don't care. I'm telling you, it's crazy. But they all had to go through the Pitbulls, man.
You guys
everybody had to go through us. Usually, if they brought a new tag team in that first night, they're going against us in the arena. Because it's a test. In our business, if the booker asks you to do a job, you got to do it. It's part of the business. You can't have an attitude and, it can't work.
Was that almost like, would you guys became the British Bulldogs in essence, like what they did to you? Would you guys do that to teams that were coming in at all? Like, let's say, younger team, would you ever, test them out, stiff them, or you're not, that's not your guys' style?
We would lay our shit in. We would still do kind of Japan style. So, like, a lot of forearms were stiff. Chops were always stiff. Most everything else was, a lot of suplexes. I mean, us from power moves and elbows off the tops. And, I mean, look at our finish is a super bomb off the top rope, for God's sake. I mean, come on.
Yeah, fit in perfectly with ECW.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was it like when you guys win the tag titles? You beat Raven and Stevie Richards. Is that a big accomplishment? As a fan, we always think like titles are huge, but you never really know from the wrestler's perspective. Was that a big moment for you guys winning the tag titles?
The match that we did, the double dog collar best out of 3 falls in 1995 was the best match in ECW at that time. We won that
match. Yep.
Yeah, we did the 2 out of 3 falls, and I mean, we had like 6 different angles going in that one match. I mean, just being able to remember what we had to do, not alone get through the match, was crazy. And I had a tore tricep during that. I tore my tricep the Friday night before, and I still worked that match with no left tricep. I had to get it reattached after.
Wow. Is that like the ECW mentality? You wrestle injured no matter what?
That's how this business is, period. You wrestle hurt if you have to. That's no bullshit. That's how I was brought up.
And that match is crazy because with all like the tapes, when you see the commercial, the tapes, I remember they used to always, highlight that match, that, the dog collar and the cage and the brutality. And like, that was one of the big selling points of ECW. I mean, Paul really kind of put that match over the top, just even explaining it. Was that, a hard match to go through? Not the injury aside, but just going through. Was it a tough match for you?
At the time, I really wasn't. If you only knew what I had to go through before that night. Friday night, I tore my tricep. Then my car broke down on the way home.
Oh, man.
Okay, from Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Okay, we're on 76, broke down. Here comes Paul Heyman, Tommy Dreamer, and Taz, and I don't know who else was in the car, but we jumped in their car and they got us back. I had to get up the next day. I realized my tricep is off. Okay, I got to go get a tow truck, get my car, bring it back to the city, and then be at the arena for 4:00 to get ready for our show for that night. And I didn't know I was getting the titles until I got there that night. And I'm like, oh shit, So it's like, let me tape up and let me go do it. I just had to, when you're in the ring, your adrenaline's going so fast. Whatever pain you feel, you don't feel it.
Right.
Till after.
So when they put Francine with you guys and they kind of, throw, her in there with you guys, what was your thought on her and putting her in there? Very young to the business at that point, but did you like her? Did you think you guys were going to have good chemistry with her?
Yeah, we had no problem with Francine. We liked her. She was a very nice girl, very young. We were the first, I think we were the first tag team she was with, I think, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But she didn't like our outfits because we were into the leather and S&M, the chains, the spike collars, and her gimmick. I would always tell her, look, you got to wear like an S&M thing. You know what I'm saying? And she hated that, but she had to do it. And then when she turned on us, which was awesome, and I just so happened to break my neck, and that wasn't planned. I mean, it just happened. It worked out great for her, you know what I mean? Because she became the most vicious, extreme girl there,
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. That turn is awesome. It's one of those things it was shocking. The fans didn't see it coming. Nowadays everybody sees it coming. Right? They didn't see it coming then.
They didn't see it coming. And listen, I don't care what anybody says. They jumped the guardrail when he threw me to the ground in a halo.
Yep.
That is white heat. That's real heat. That means they wanted to beat his ass and kill him for touching me.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So we had a lot of heat, dude. That man, I mean, to this day, I still work Shane Douglas places because people still want to see us go at it. And we do dog collar matches. We beat the shit out of each other.
So kind of just rewinding a little bit before that, what actually happened there? Because Shane, I might have one story, you might have another. When I guess he goes for a DDT and he tripped, I guess, and he went too soon, or what happened? Like when you actually broke your neck in that match?
I took a bad bump and he landed wrong, but I could have probably saved my neck if I had just got surgery done to my bicep. I blew it off, so I got reattached. And it was healed, but I just started in the gym, so I wasn't really strong yet. So I couldn't really use that right arm to stop, the DDT, and protect myself. And I figured I'm going to take it like a DDT, which that move, he goes to his ass, I take a face bump. But he went to his back with his elbow behind my head. And like I said, I took the DDT, which actually forced my head down even faster and quicker and harder when I should just took a face bump and laid my legs out straight. So I took a bad bump, but very, very, very lucky I didn't die because I broke C1 and I should have been paralyzed.
Any heat with Shane over that? Like, did you guys get along okay? Or was there some blame being, passed along?
No, maybe in the beginning. I mean, honestly, the guys in the locker room were more kind of frazzled than we were. Like me and him were okay. Like the locker room didn't know if we were okay or not. I think they were afraid something like I was going to do something or something was going to happen, but it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? Especially when we started setting up, like they didn't want to do the angle, period, bro. Okay. They didn't want to do the angle.
Why
But
not?
I got clearance by my doctor because they were afraid that I wouldn't be able to wrestle again. So they didn't want to do it. And once the doctor said, look, you're going to be cleared, you're going to be fine, in 6 months, but I gave myself an extra 2 months. So I did 8 months and I came back. And I was very lucky to have the late, great, ravishing Rick Rude bring me back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I mean? Which was awesome that night. And nobody expected me to come back that strong and that fast. You know what I mean? But no, me and Shane worked on beautiful. We worked all over, man. And because that's what I was thinking. I was thinking we're getting ready to do the pay-per-view. So that's why we're working in every city and every town. And we were doing great matches. We were doing like 30, 45-minute matches and all reverses. And because we had the heat for it. So it was like anything we did, the people went crazy for it.
Absolutely. And it's just almost like built in. They think, oh, he broke your neck. These guys probably really hate each other. It's right. It's like the perfect marriage almost.
Except for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, Shane Douglas is always a babyface. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had an actual woman smack me across the face there. And I literally, she hit me hard, man. My ear was ringing because I took a bump and everything on the floor, and I'm rolling around, and all I hear is Francine laughing and Shane laughing, and I'm like, man, throw this bitch out.
Yeah, what are they doing?
I was going to kill her. And come to find out, it was Shane's babysitter when he was a kid.
Wow, what a small world. That's crazy. That's awesome. Man.
But I called her a witch and all this crap. So I had it coming to me, so it was cool.
So the Halo incident, that whole thing that goes down, and obviously, like you talked about, white heat, there's just so much craziness involved. That's another thing that they would play on the videos, and you're just like, oh my God, shocking. Like the riot in Philly. I mean, it's just nuts. Where's the Halo? Was it supposed to be already gone at this point, and you had left it in? Like, what was the whole story there? Because that's got to be a very dangerous spot. I mean, for him to do it once is crazy, but then to do it like jerky again and then throw you down. I mean, that's just, if you think about it, it's like, wow, what a visual. That is nuts.
Okay, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. I got it taken off, and I had to stay in my house for a week. Paul Heyman said, do not leave your house till next Saturday when you come to the arena with the Halo on. I said, okay. So they took it off me, and then the doctors gave me the Halo back, and they gave it to me with that the screws went to the same spot they were in my skull, but they had a pad on it instead. So I'm still literally locked in the thing, even though it's not in my skull. I'm locked in it. Plus, I had my left arm in my pocket because I had said the gimmick, the fake gimmick was I hurt my arm and I was paralyzed, kind of. The neck was a straight up shoot. It was broke. I just added that left arm. And what happened was, we were going over how we could do it and blah, blah, blah. And some guys were like, oh, yeah, take a bump. And I'm like, I don't think I should take a bump. If I just take a bump, like a regular back bump with that, not only is it going to kill me, it ain't going to look right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really, honestly, I don't think I could have took a bump with it, So the way he grabbed it was like 1, 2, 3, we timed it. And I went down to one knee and I took it the only way I could. Like he threw me down, and that's the way I fell, is the way I fell, and I couldn't do anything about it. And that's why then all I remember is laying there, and I can't really see much because remember my head's locked straight.
Yep.
But all I did was I would see people like jumping like higher than they're supposed to be. Like this guy ain't supposed to be near me. He's a fan. They're jumping the guardrail. That's what I didn't realize. And then once I realized that, I remember Shane grabbing Francine and trying to run. And it was insane. When I saw it on video, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Man, just epic stuff, unforgettable stuff. And that fan base and those fans and that crowd, supposedly the smartest fans, and they're buying into it. I mean, so that shows you like the level of, wow, this seems like it was real. And Shane Douglas is the biggest asshole ever for doing that. I mean, that's how it came off.
That's exactly what happened. And after that, Shane was the biggest asshole, and he had the most heat, and that's why he was the champ.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. This is what the business is. I mean, sometimes it works for you, sometimes it don't work for you. But then again, one angle could change a person's life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. Look at Hulk Hogan. Look at The Rock. Remember what he was when he started?
Oh,
and
yeah.
what did he turn into?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So you never know what's going to happen. You just got to go with it.
So when the Halo thing goes down, obviously, like you said, there's that white heat. It was just crazy hot. What was the expectations of like the end of the feud with you and him? Was there ever any talk of like, eventually you're going to become world champion, or what was kind of the end game for Paul? Was there ever any talk about, you're getting your revenge and things like that?
No, it was cool. I honestly, I wasn't interested in being heavyweight champion at the time. I was a tag team. I just wanted to get back to my tag team and get back to work like we were doing. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to do, because they gave Anthony a very good push, and they gave him the TV title.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is great, because we're really the only tag team. You got to look at that television title class of guys, and then you can understand where I'm coming from. To be able to have that television title and then also be tag team champs. We were, like I said, we were tag champs before it became ECW, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's we loved being TV title holders also. We loved it.
It's funny. The ECW always made their TV title as important as the world title. A lot of it. RVD was champ forever, and they would put him on the main events and stuff. Right? I mean, the ECW TV title, Paul made sure it was just as important as the world.
I mean, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit. The list goes on and on and on of guys that had that television title.
Yeah, and even Shane, of course. Yep.
Shane, Too Cold Scorpio. I mean, it's very iconic to have that belt. Not many people had that belt either. Not many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did a good job.
That's a very good thing there someday.
What do you think of Paul Heyman? So many people say genius. So many other people say not. It's almost like a little bit of a divide, saying, "Oh, he's not." But a lot of people say, he's a creative genius. He's a mastermind. The other hand, maybe he's not so much a good of a businessman, or maybe that's the kind of downfall of him. But what do you think about him creatively? Is he a genius? Is he a wrestling, savant, as so many people like to say?
I think he turned into one. Yes, from being a photographer and just taking pictures, just like Jim Cornette.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They put their time in. I would only believe maybe 10% of what comes out of his mouth when he's talking to you. Yep. But when it comes to the business, I got to give him his props. Yes.
Would he lie a lot? Maybe not to you, but have you seen him lie a lot to the voice? Because that's like the funny story. It's like when I think his mother said this quote. It's like when his mouth is moving, he's lying. Like that whole thing. Is that true? Or is that blown out of proportion?
No, it's true. Bruce, I'll give you an example. Bruce Pritchard told me straight up, when he's on the phone, believe maybe 10%. That's about it. Period. So, yeah.
What was he like to work with? Like everyone always says, great motivator. You see beyond the mat, him being a great. Is that what he's great at? Being motivating the troops.
Very good motivator. He can convince you to jump off a building, and he's done it.
Yes,
I've seen it done. Okay, he can convince you to take a fucking 20 chair shots, and I've seen it done. So he's a very good motivator. I don't think he wants to put up with what happens after the fact, but he's a good motivator. I'll tell you that.
Do you think he's a manipulator at all with what he was doing? Like, people always say, "Oh, if you're in ECW, you were drinking the Kool-Aid." Was that the case, or you find that that's like a BS thing that people that weren't in ECW like to say about ECW?
Uh, I guess that I don't know anybody that would get treated like that or had any problems like that. And if he did, uh, that's on them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the locker room's a locker room. I mean, I was in the Philly clique. You know what I mean? So we had our cliques. They had a New York clique. The Philly clique started the whole way. I mean, that was the biggest clique. That was Todd's God's guys. You know what I'm saying? And we no, he never was able to get anything over on us because we made sure, we handle our money. You know what I'm saying? And if we knew he was up to something, we always pretty much caught it early, because he would come to the arena. And sometimes we didn't know what we were doing that night, and he sits at a table and he'll call people over once in a blue moon to tell them what they're doing. And half the time he had no idea what he was doing that night. You know what I mean? Until finally I'm like, all right, Paul, I don't care. I can handle any situation. So he would wait. Sometimes it'd be like, all right, you guys are on in about 30 minutes. It's going to be you guys and them, and get ready. You're in front of the ECW crowd. And we all sat there and watched that camera and we watched that TV. So everybody who watched that show and was on that show, we all had a better the next match. So I don't care what they did. We had to have a better match. And that's how everybody thought in that locker room.
How is that locker room? Everyone always says it's the best locker room. Shane Douglas always says the best locker room's ever been. And, he's been everywhere, but that was his favorite locker room. Is that the case for most of the guys? They love that locker room, that camaraderie with those guys?
Everybody liked that. Our locker room was the best because everybody cared for each other because we all were in it together. We all did the crazy shit together. If one of us went down, it hurt everybody. We didn't want to see that happen. You know what I mean? Because we were trying to build something here and we were getting momentum like crazy. You know what I mean? And we just put our heart and soul into it. I mean, why do you think Vince McMahon had to turn to the what's that?
Attitude Era?
That Attitude Era. He had to. After we did the one night stand, bro, their easy nights were over. Done. We showed something so different on WWF pay-per-view that they had to change their whole entire aspect of the business. And that's when they became the Attitude Era because we made it. I looked at them guys up and they were sitting up there in the balcony looking down at us, all the WWE guys. And what you're a fan, so you watched it. Their jaws were on the ground. They were like, because they could not believe what we were doing for work. We were working our asses off. And they could not believe how hard we would work. And then in their minds, they're saying, we couldn't do that every night. No shit, you can't do it every night. You can't. But we showed them that we could work hard, really hard. And not only that, we had psychology. So that's what I said. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't care who you ask. We changed it. The one night stand changed the business.
What do you think about the locker room itself? Like, is it as much of a party atmosphere? The drugs running rampant. You always hear the crazy stories like, oh, this guy's doing this and this guy's doing that. Was that as true as it's being advertised that ECW was just like this party atmosphere in the back 24/7 and just insane behind the scenes?
Yeah, absolutely. It was freaking crazy. Nobody had a locker room like us, bro. It was fucking insane. Okay? I can't. And I've been in Vince's locker room in 1988 when I was in his locker room. That locker room was pretty crazy too. I mean, I was in shock. And as a kid, I was just like, holy shit. Like, I walked in the men's room and I couldn't believe what I was seeing going on in there. So this is before Vince got in trouble with the steroid situation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
It goes way back. Those guys were all partying too. Back then they really do it. I don't think they were doing much tests back then in the 80s. I'll be honest with you. I mean, look how big everybody was.
Yeah, true. They weren't doing much until that steroid trial hit, and then that kind of changed things big time. What was kind of like the atmosphere like at ECW? Like, as far as, is there a locker room leader? Is there a guy in charge, or is just kind of not a free for all, but everyone's kind of their own person?
Uh, we had a couple guys we respected a little bit more. Like we always respected Tommy Dreamer a little bit because he was like kind of top. He was kind of Paul's like right hand guy. You know what I'm saying? So plus he handled a lot of the business for ECW, like merchandise and stuff like that. And pretty much everybody knew their own. Everybody had their own job. That's how, like, we didn't have to be told what to do, or if we did get told what to do, it was one time and that's it. You know, we would just keep doing it, you know? And like, if we would start setting up, you know, our vending tables, you know, to sell t-shirts and stuff like that. If we didn't have anybody to do that, I mean, I remember some of the guys' girlfriends would sit at the tables and sell merch for ECW.
Right,
You know what I mean? And then they would throw them $100 bill for the night, you know what I'm saying? So it was a close-knit family. I mean, even the people collecting money at the door were like fans that were with us from the beginning. And we just ended up bringing them in and letting them help us, you know?
As far as Heyman being a leader, what do you think about him being like the leader of the show? Like, he's a great creative mind, but what about him as, you know, the leader, as the boss?
No, he couldn't. I can't say that he would do everything because you got to remember Tod Gordon was still there, you know. So Tod Gordon has a great mind for the business, also. So between them two, you know, they would pretty much figure it out. And then, like I said, like every time we would have a show somewhere, we would have guys come to ECW wherever we were at, and we would let them work out in the ring before the shows. And they're like the Pitbulls, the Eliminators. New Jack would hang out, you know, the ball, like most of the top guys would hang out and watch, you know, and if we liked somebody, we would let them know, you know, like, yo, that team looks good or that guy looks good. And 9 times out of 10, if they heard enough of us give a guy a compliment, they would bring them in and give them a shot, you know. So we were pretty cool when it came down to that stuff, you know. We always were looking for new talent and, you know, new stuff to do, you know.
Yep. You know, around the time of Barely Legal, the WWF has a deal with ECW, and they're promoting Barely Legal, the pay-per-view, and they're kind of promoting, and obviously ECW shows up on Raw and different shows and stuff. Were you shocked that, you know, Vince had wanted anything to do with ECW? Because it almost seems counter to what they do. ECW, you know, blood and guts, and WWF, it was a lot of sports entertainment. Or did you kind of see the writing on the wall that they wanted to kind of go in that general direction?
What happened was they didn't realize we had an audience. Once they realized we're actually growing an audience and we just don't have one, we're growing it. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're tired of seeing this slapstick shit on television that sucks.
Right. Yep.
And they're tired of getting their intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, you're like looking at them like they're stupid. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now after they watch one show of ours, they don't want to watch WF no more. And that's what it came down to. You know, we had rock and roll, girls, and blood and tables and chairs. We brought it all. We brought the crowd in to the show. I always made sure I knew a guy worked 40 hours. You know, I would call him an asshole right to his face just so he could unload on me, man. You know what I'm saying? I had no problem with that, you know? So once Vince realized how hard we were working, we were creeping, man. As my boy Squirt would say, we're creeping up. And that's when he got his rich fingers in our business and he started paying Paul Heyman money. And that's what happened. But we didn't know that was happening at the time. We had no idea. And then once we started figuring it out, that's when, I mean, Vince still wanted to look at us. I mean, we went back in 1998 and they looked at us and they were going to bring us in and put Terry Reynolds with us as our manager. And we were going all the way with the straps and everything. I don't know what happened with that, but like I said, we were supposed to go to WCW, and then that just blew up in our face because I didn't think Vince. I knew they were going to take ECW, but I had no clue they would try to grab WCW.
Right. Yeah.
But they did. And I mean, it was 1 week of me signing a contract, a 3-year deal. Totally killed me, man.
And who did you sign? Was it with Bischoff, Johnny Ace? Like, who was like the actual person that's going to reach out to you, make that deal with you?
Kevin Sullivan, Terry Taylor, Diamond Dallas Page, Raven, and Bischoff called me up at my house on a dual phone thing. I guess they're in the office. And they said, do you guys want to come in for the December pay-per-view? And I was like, what do you got planned? They go, we want to give you a 3-year deal, and you're going against the Steiners, and you're getting the belts right away. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm down. Because I knew that was going to turn into a 6-year deal easily. And then, who knows, and they were working with New Japan too, so it worked out perfect for us. At the time, Vince, I think they stopped working with Japan.
And it just never came to fruition, I guess. I mean,
it just never
timing
happened.
Timing of it just never happened.
I called Bischoff on Monday, and he was supposed to give us our flight information to fly out on Tuesday. And he's like, I'm not allowed to sign anybody. Otherwise, I would have already signed you. He goes, I can't sign anybody. No, wow. Put it that way. Because then they'd be liable to give me my money. Vince had to pay all those contracts off from WCW.
Just rewinding though, why did you end up leaving ECW? Was there payment issues with Heyman? Like, what was the issues of exiting ECW?
I was supposed to leave earlier. We were going to be in Raven's flock, but I had to get knee surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was like, look, we were leaving anyway. Everybody else was going. We more or less, we were like next to the Dudleys. And the Gangsters. We were pretty much the last guys to go. We even gave them a 2-week, we gave them a 2-week notice. I said, look, we're going to WCW. I was supposed to go, like I said, with Raven. We were supposed to be in his flock. That was the whole gimmick. But I blew my knee, so Perry Saturn got that spot, and they got somebody else to take Anthony's. So that just, we stayed in ECW, we stayed loyal, and then, we said, look, we got to jump ship. Sorry, that's all we got. That's all I could say.
When WWF started taking some ECW talent, in the late 90s, WCW then started taking some ECW talent. So obviously ECW was a bit of a hotbed for getting the talent. Was Tod Gordon, because that's a rumor out there that he was some sort of mole for WCW and maybe for Kevin Sullivan, that he would kind of get guys deals for WCW, like a Saturn or Sandman when he goes in, and Stevie Richards and all these guys that kind of end up going there. Was there any sort of mole situation with Tod Gordon, because he leaves ECW?
He's very tight with Kevin Sullivan, and I've known Kevin when I just started in the business. I met him in probably 87, and I didn't go to wrestling school till 88.
Right.
And I met him in Daytona and just started shooting the shit with him, and we became friends. But and I've wrestled him many times. Tod, like I said, he had a lot of friends in WCW, but you got to remember when Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit went to WCW, they made a deal for 4 guys. That was their deal. So everybody had their own deals. So I don't know if Tod had anything to do with them, but I know he had nothing to do with Raven getting there because, he's tight with Dallas Page and them guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But like I said, they called us. I mean, we were ready to go. I could have went sooner, but I didn't because I had to get my knees done. But when it was time for us to come, they were waiting for us. They had a great angle. We had a great setup, man. We were going to roll good there. Really good. Vince was going to make a big mistake, put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. Now you do return to ECW in 2000, albeit briefly. Was that something that you wanted a longer deal? You were going to come back full time, more of a singles run, but what was kind of on the cards for that?
I don't even remember. They probably just called us up and said, come and work. And we just went and worked,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who you worked. I think it was Spike Dudley, Scotty Riggs. I think you were in some like random 6-man. It wasn't like a lot of shows. It was like one little loop and you were kind of gone. I wonder, if it was supposed to be long term or they just wanted
star power. At that time, I wasn't even under a contract. I was working night to night at that time. When we were there earlier, we were under contract with ECW. So we had two contracts going. We had a contract with New Japan, and we had a contract with ECW.
So after ECW in 2000, you end up leaving, but you're also, like you mentioned before, FMW, Wing. You're doing all these different kind of promotions. Is there anywhere you wanted to settle down and work, or do you like kind of being that independent wrestler where you can work FMW, you can work Wing, you can work all these different places? What was like your preference at that point?
I liked it that way because I got to be home more. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I would go on 2-week tours to Germany and all over the world. You know what I mean? So that was cool. Yep. And I get to work all different guys that I know, like Beefcake and Jimmy Snuka. That was great. One tour. So that was cool. I ended up getting work in Australia. Me and my partner went to Hardcore Championship Wrestling in Australia, which Kevin Sullivan, King Curtis got us booked there. The guy, Big Mark, Mad Mark, the guy that was in Kevin Sullivan's gimmick back in the day. Purple Haze, I think he called himself.
Mark Lewin.
Mark Lewin. Was that his name?
Yep.
Yeah, well, he opened up the company in Australia. So we went there and he put the belts on us. We were the Australian Tag Team Champions there. We were there for about going on almost 10 months. And we were rolling, man, pulling 13s on TV before rugby. Nails was our champ. We were tag champs. We had the Samoans with us. The Bruise Brothers were down there with us. A bunch of guys were with us. Nails was the champ. Hawk Animal was with us for a little bit. Yeah, we were rolling down there. And then all of a sudden, man, the TV just stopped. And I couldn't understand. Even the TV company couldn't understand because we were pulling 13s. Vince pulls what? 2 point something. We were pulling 3 point something. No bullshit. So once I realized that was over, I was like, I got to get my ass back to America. So that's what I did. I flew back home. I thought I was going to end up moving there and working.
And then we mentioned it before, the shocking death of Anthony Durante ends up passing away. It was just a shocking moment for you, just out of the blue one day. How did that kind of that information get told to you?
I was in a gym. Somebody mentioned it to me, but I didn't believe it because I didn't hear anything. At that time, he already moved to Connecticut where his mom and his brother was with his girl and their 2 kids. And then I didn't believe anything then. When I got home, I heard something on TV about a shooting, and that didn't make any sense. And then I heard another thing about an overdose, which still didn't make any sense. But nobody, I still don't know to this day what happened. And I'm his partner, so his family's a real Italian family, so they're very, very, I guess they like to keep things hush hush.
Yeah, quiet about it. Yeah, it's a crazy kind of thinking. I mean, really young. I mean, not old at all, at that point either. So, he had a lot of years ahead of him. Was there any kind of thoughts or any plans of going to WWE, or was there anything in the works for you guys at that point?
Yeah,
before he passed away.
He was getting his life back together, and he was getting back in shape, and he was ready to go. I mean, that's when I told you the Road Warriors called us, and we were ready to go back. I mean, and come on, we couldn't get a better break than to work against the Legion of Doom. I mean, come on. Most people would always say, "You guys remind us of the Road Warriors, but a little bit smaller."
Yeah, yep. Were they an inspiration for the gimmick?
Oh yeah, I mean, we love their style. They're just badass guys. It's like we're badasses. If you don't like us, you like us. If you don't, you don't. I don't give a shit. That's pretty much our attitude.
Nice. I love that attitude. Now, as we start to wind it down and head towards the finish, maybe just a generic question for you, but I'm just curious, especially with a guy like you, wrestled literally everywhere. Do you have favorite matches or favorite opponents? Because I know I just love that question because you never know kind of the answer you're going to get from certain guys. Because you could pull a random team or a random guy out of nowhere. They're like, oh my god, now I got to go YouTube and check that out or something. Do you have some favorite matches and favorite opponents?
Wow. Dude, it's so hard. I mean, I've wrestled so many. I mean, I got to remember. I'll give you an example. I was very green in North Carolina, and Dean Malenko came in. I never met Dean Malenko. I just heard of him. He's from the Malenko brothers. Didn't realize how much intelligence this guy is and how smart he is. And, Paul Jones and George Scott are like, okay, you guys are working together tonight. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm a baby face and he's a baby face. How's that going to work out? That's how green I was. I remember, this is my first job.
Yep.
I remember Dean pulled me aside and he's like, listen, don't worry about it, kid. I got you. And he gave me the finish. And I actually sat there, looked at him and said, you know what? That's a great fucking finish. I mean, that's great. That's great psychology, how we're both baby faces and we're still going to come out as baby faces. None of us turned into a heel after that match. And we tore it up for 30 minutes. And the finish was, he shot me off the rope, went for a leapfrog. My head hit him in the balls. He hit the ground. 1, 2, 3. It was a fucking accident. Genius.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody looked bad. No, I mean, I got the win. It was a lucky win. But he stole the man with 1,000 moves. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Do you have some favorite tag matches with Anthony, part of the Pitbulls?
Great matches with the Bruise Brothers, considering they're 6'7", 6'8". Like I said, the one thing about the Pitbulls, we could wrestle any style. You name the style, we can handle it. We had great matches against the Headhunters, those big, fat, 400-pound.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That do moonsaults. We had unbelievable matches with them. Steiners, we had great matches with them. Dude, I got to say, the British Bulldogs, 2 weeks, I learned more. And I couldn't believe how much I learned. Working Eddie's dad and Rey Mysterio's dad, the Guerrero brothers, I learned so much from them guys. You got to remember, we went to Puerto Rico, man. They put the tag titles on us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We were the Puerto Rico champs. And guess who we were working and training at the same time? Thunder and Lightning, who are the heavyweight champs forever. They've been there. So, and them guys are 2 police officers, believe it or not.
Oh, didn't know that. Yeah. You just know, the Colognes, Thunder and Lightning, very associated with WWC down there in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, they were great guys, man. We got to work with them. They were very young back then, so they had to learn. And, Carlos was like, look, I need you guys to help these guys. I'm like, no problem. We have no problem with that. You know what I mean? And we would work Kendall Windham, Barry Windham down there. They threw the belts on us right away. I mean, we were on TV down there rocking it. I'd go 2 weeks at a time and come home, go back 2 weeks, come home. It was great.
Do you have any regrets, like looking back in wrestling? Is that possible to have any regrets or anything you look back, like, I wish, we did it, would have went here, would have went there, would have changed this, would have changed that?
We could have been in a WrestleMania and we didn't do it, and we should have did it. That's the only thing I regret.
Was there an opportunity? Do you remember which WrestleMania could have been, or?
They were putting us against the Hart Foundation, and they had a great idea with a helicopter and a chain connected to a cage. They were going to lower us in the ring, and it was going to be all smoked out, and we were going to be all spiked up, and it was going to be really cool. And we turned it down because we were working in Japan, and shit just happens. It just wasn't the right time. And now that I go back, I wish I would have just did it, hung out for as long as they wanted, and then we could have went back. You know what I'm saying? The publicity alone would have been worth doing it, put it that way.
Then Japan would have wanted you probably even more. You know what I mean?
We were still locked in Japan regardless. It would have helped our career more, yes.
So just looking back at not only your career, maybe the Pitbulls itself, it's like when a fan is just looking back and they're looking at through history books or something and they see the Pitbulls and they see Gary Wolf, what's the stamp or what's the legacy of the Pitbulls and Gary Wolf on professional wrestling?
We're the original Mad Dogs of War. We are the Pitbulls. There could be, I don't care how many people want to call themselves a Pitbull, they're not the Pitbulls. Okay, our work compared to their work is apples and oranges, because we'll punch you in the face and we can back up our shit. And that was one thing about me and Anthony. If we had a reputation, it was don't fuck with us. And that's no bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what do you got coming up? Like signings? Do you got some wrestling coming up? Are you getting back out there on the road?
Yes, I am. I started getting some calls, and I'll give you one first. October 10th, I will be in Jackson, New Jersey, North Jersey, for Titan Championship Wrestling. and I will be in a steel cage against Monster Mac with weapons hanging. So you guys got it. If you guys haven't seen me in a while, come out to that show, man. It's we're main eventing it. We're going to tear the roof down. There's 2 cage matches that night. And believe me, nobody will be able to follow our match. Nobody.
And also, you'll be doing a virtual signing, which I don't know if you've done one of them before. Very unique kind of thing where basically, it's no fans, but there's a ton of fans watching you, and they're kind of telling you what to sign. I mean, what do you think about virtual signing? These wrestling promoters will kind of think of a lot of weird, interesting stuff, but I mean, it actually works. It's actually a successful kind of business model.
For us guys, it's helping us out greatly. I mean, we appreciate it, and that's no bull. And everybody's doing well when they do it. So kick in, man, because I got some badass T-shirts. I mean, if you go to my Gmail, you can hit me up, pitbull67gw@gmail.com. I got some badass shirts, dude, from Pitbulls. I got original ones from ECW. You can also go to my Facebook. It's under Gary Wolf. Check that out. I have another Facebook. A friend of mine opened up for me, ECW legend, original Pitbull of War, Dogs of War. It's another one you can check out, guys.
All right, awesome stuff, Mr. Wolf.
And then that other one you're talking about, I'll be doing with Dylan Hines on October 15th from Florida, and I think it's going to be an extreme session. I think I'm going to have Fonzie, one of the best managers in the business, is going to be with me, with Dylan Hines for our extreme signing on the 15th of October, Thursday night, brother.
Nice. And I think you got one for Gimmick Tree too coming up, if I remember correctly, around the date of the show you got going on for the SAW.
Maybe that's my afternoon signing that Saturday. Yeah. They said I have a signing that afternoon, so I'm probably doing that one.
Yeah. So good stuff. You're keeping busy. I love it. The Pitbull is getting back out there despite COVID. You're getting back out there. Love it.
Dude, I'm in better shape now than I was before. It's crazy.
That's great. Yeah. Some people sit around and get in bad shape like me, and you are out there getting in great shape. Yeah.
Nah, you look good, brother.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the time you gave us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Wolf, and good luck with getting back out there on the road and the steel cage match and the virtual signings. Good luck.
I appreciate it. And like I said, everybody out there, you the man. I love it. Thank you for letting me be on your show. I appreciate it, brother.